Hey everyone, welcome back to the Jesus Saves podcast. I'm your host, Ashley M., and I'm so glad that you decided to tune in and listen to today's episode. And if you're new here, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube or tuning in on Spotify, thank you so much for your support. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tune in. And I hope everyone's having a great week and everything's going well with you guys so far. And I'm just really excited for today's episode. I think it's going to be a great episode, and let's dive into it. So, today's episode is entitled Patience. I know, very simple, one word, patience. And I think it's such an important quality to have, definitely an area in my life that I've struggled with. I'm definitely someone who likes things when I want them. I'm very much a now person. Like, I'll order food and be like, looking like, okay, when is it coming? It needs to come right now. Like, and I think I've been in a season where God has been like instilling in me patience, where I just have to sit and wait on Him. And there's nothing that I can do but just sit and wait on the Lord. And it's just very important. Psalms 27, verse 14 says, wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. So we're instructed to wait on the Lord. We're instructed to be patient. And when you really think about it, patience is a fruit of the Spirit. So we need to be patient. And I think a lot of times when we are operating in impatience, when we're not trusting God to fulfill His promises, we end up getting ourselves in situations that God didn't intend for us to be in. And a lot of times, if we just waited on God, we would have got something way better, right? Sometimes out of impatience, we settle. We settle for what God doesn't want for us. God wants us to have the best of the best. God wants to bless us, but He wants us to be still, be patient, and trust His timing and just wait on Him. And it's really a reminder that God is sovereign over all things. We don't need to manipulate situations or try to have control, because we're not meant to have control. God is. He knows everything. He sees everything. He's in all the details. So just be patient and wait on God. And honestly, patience is a virtue, right? You could pray like, Lord, like I pray that you allow me to be more patient. God is not going to give you patience. What He will do is that He'll put you in situations where you're forced to be patient, where you're forced to exercise patience. And you might have a difficult coworker. You might be waiting to hear back from a job or school. And it's like in those moments, we just have to wait and be patient. There's literally nothing that we can do. Nothing is in our control at this point. We just have to sit and wait and trust God. And like I said, God has everything in His hands. And I think in today's society and world, like it's very much fast paced. We're used to getting things quickly. Like we have express delivery. Like you can do the Amazon one day shipping where you order something and get it even the same day. We have so many things that get expedited, where it's express shipping, express lines, and all these different things allow us to not wait. We're able to get things quickly and not wait. And it's like God tells us to wait on Him, to not rush things, to not, try to manipulate things. But He says to sit and wait on Him, because He knows what's best for us. And I think recently I've been taught about the importance of waiting and just being patient with God. So a little backstory. I'm in physical therapy school and I'm starting my first clinical rotation next month. So on the website that we are signing up on to see our clinical rotation or location and who our instructor is, right? They have different emails on the website. So our instructor at our school told us to reach out to the clinical site, reach out to our clinical instructor, let them know if we needed to do any additional requirements before we start our clinical rotation. So I saw on my profile that I wasn't assigned a clinical instructor. So I'm like, okay, like I'm not really sure who I should contact. So I reached out to my school and I was like, oh, like I saw on the website that I don't have a clinical instructor assigned to me. Who should I contact? And she told me to contact there were 2 emails there that said site contacts, I guess, for the location of where I'm doing my clinical rotation. So she says, reach out to them, and if you don't hear from them, let me know. So just for context, this is like 2 weeks ago, April 4th, bugging out, March 4th. So this is March 4th. So I emailed the 2 contacts that were there, and I was sitting there waiting. I waited. It's okay. I didn't hear anything back. I waited for a week. So I didn't hear from them after a week. So then I reached back out to my school and I was like, yeah, I reached out to them and I didn't hear back from anybody. I don't know who else I should contact because I don't know who my instructor is. And then she told me, she gave me a new email to reach out to. She's like, okay, like you're confirmed for the clinical rotation, email this person. So the email that she gave me wasn't any of the emails that were on the site that I saw initially. So I emailed that person as well. So I emailed the person, reached out. Again, I'm waiting. Didn't hear back from anybody. So at this point, this is like, okay, so I initially reached out to the first people, 2 people, April 4th. A week later, April 11th, I reached out to the second person that my school told me to reach out to. Still didn't hear back from them, nothing. So I believe it might have been on, okay, March 16th was Sunday. So I think I had reached out to, because I had reached out to him, second person, April 11th. So at this point, it's April 16th. So it's been like about 5 days. And I'm like, okay, like I'm waiting. So I haven't heard back from anybody. And like I said, I'm somebody who likes being able to plan in advance. I like having timelines. I like knowing information. And for me, I kind of felt like I was in the dark because I didn't know what my schedule was looking like. I didn't know what the dress code was. I didn't know who my clinical instructor was. I didn't know any expectations. I just felt like my clinical rotation was around the corner and I don't have any information. I don't know who I'm supposed to contact. I don't know. I haven't had any contact with the site. And I'm just like, what do I do? So I reached out to my school again and I kind of was expressing my frustration. I was just like, like I'm getting a little concerned. Like my rotation is literally next month. I don't know who my instructor is. I don't have any information. And I'm just kind of like reaching out to people and no one's getting back to me. And I'm definitely someone who likes having clear and good communication. Like I like communicating, especially when there's miscommunication or just like poor communication. That's something that like totally like turns me off and just annoys me. So I was just like, I'm not getting the communication that I desire from these people. I'm just like, what do I do? Like, I'm just trying to figure out like what to do. So she said to me, like, don't worry, Ashley, like you're confirmed. Don't worry, like you're literally confirmed for the site. Someone's gonna reach out to you. Just don't worry, like they're gonna reach out to you. So I'm like, okay, they're gonna reach out to me, like you said it. And after that point, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just surrender it to God because it's literally out of my control. Like I reach out to people, they didn't get back to me. There's literally nothing I can do. And I'm just like, Lord, I trust you. Because for a long time, I was kind of just like frustrated just with the entire process and the entire thing because I was placed somewhere that I didn't want to be placed at. Because with my school, they allow you to have like a wish list and you were able to select 3 sites that you potentially want to go to. And the sites that I selected were like close to home, like cool, like 5-10 minutes, not far. But this site is like a little farther, but it's not something that I wanted to, not somewhere where I wanted to go. But I was just kind of frustrated from the beginning from there. And then to not have the communication from the people, I'm just like, okay, what's going on? And I remember I went to the mall to get something. I went to a mall that was close to my house to get something. And I'm like, okay, let me see if they have it. They didn't have it. So then I was just like, sometimes maybe the closer thing, the easier option is not always better. And I was just thinking like how God's so funny because I was just, not really complaining, but just thinking about like how I didn't want to go to this particular place, how it was a little farther. But I believe that God's placing me at this site for a reason. And that the reason why I was sitting and waiting, trying to figure out what the information is, because I believe that God was handpicking out my clinical instructor, that he was orchestrating everything, that he was setting everything up so that when I got there, everything would run smoothly, that I would be in a comfortable environment, that I'll be able to grow, that I'll be able to learn and continue to grow my confidence and knowledge in physical therapy and just make connections and just be able to learn from my CI. So I think God was just having me in a season where I just had to, just a period where I had to be patient and just wait on him and know that he's in the details. So even though I don't see things moving right in the here and now, I know that God is moving because he's omnipresent, he's omnipotent, he's in control of it all. So even though if I don't see things physically moving, I know that he's working in the spirit, that he's working everything out for my good. And I was like, Lord, I surrender it to you. I trust you. Like, I'm not gonna reach out again. I'm just gonna, it is what it is. They're gonna reach out when they reach out, and I'm just gonna be patient and wait on you and know that you know what's best for me. And that I can't say I have faith in you and I love you and I trust you, but I'm constantly sitting here worrying, trying to figure out what's next, what's happening. But I was like, Lord, I surrender it to you. I trust you and I believe that they're going to reach out and you're going to place me in the great clinical instruction and everything's going to go well with me. And I was like, Lord, I surrender it to you. So this is on Sunday. And then on Wednesday, which was yesterday, I got an email from the site. Basically saying like, okay, Ashley, hi, Ashley, you're confirmed. This is your clinical instructor. This is her name. This is her email. You know, you're going to be in great hands. She's great. Feel free to ask any questions that you may have. And then I also got an email from my school saying, yes, we got confirmation. Ashley, that this is your CI. Gave me her name, her email, and everything. And I was just like, Lord, you're so good. Like, you're literally so good. And it was really like when I really surrendered and I was like, Lord, like, it's in your hands. I trust you. I release it. That he moved. And I feel like a lot of times, like, we'll try so hard to like have control over situations and have our hands closed. Like, Lord, like, I want to be able to manipulate things. I don't want to release control. But it's like when you release control, God is able to really move. God is able to really do what he wants and needs to do in our life. And it's like they got back to me yesterday, March 19th. And yeah, I was waiting. I was waiting for like about 2 weeks. But I believe that in that waiting season, it allowed me to really just trust God because I had no other choice but to be patient and trust God and know that he's in control. So I believe that we all can benefit with being more patient and knowing that, like, because we're only humans, our perspective is limited. So like we can't see the past, the future, and the present. We're only in the here and now, but God is literally in the details. He's in the past, he's in the present, he's in the future. He knows what's to come. He's protecting us. He's ordering our steps. He's setting everything up for us. And it's like God really knows what we need when we need it. And I'm just so thankful that God worked everything out. And God just is really good and he's faithful. And you just have to trust him and have faith in him and just be patient and wait. And you might think like things aren't moving, nothing's happening when I'm being patient and sitting down and waiting. But God is moving. He is moving. You just have to have faith to trust and believe that he's moving. So I believe that there's some three practical ways that you can help to improve your patience or just kind of work on it, especially if you're struggling like I was. So the first thing I would say is to redirect your focus on God. So instead of kind of worrying and ruminating on the situation or whatever circumstance that's kind of like causing you stress, just spend some quiet time with God in prayer, whether it's reading the word or fasting. And I think sometimes when God has us in season where we have to be patient, where we have to wait on him, we're just reminded that he's ultimately in control. And we just have to trust and believe that he's faithful to fulfill all of his promises, that God is not a God that he's going to lie. If he said he's going to do something, he will do it and it will come to pass. So just redirect your focus to God, right? Just spend some time in his presence, because a lot of times we have so many distractions, so many things that are just pulling for our attention, whether it's social media, school, work, just like life in general. And sometimes we can't really hear God's voice so clearly if we have all this noise in our ears. And sometimes God will, put us in a season where we're just cut off. We just have to sit and be in his presence so that we can hear him clearly and hear wherever he wants to lead us, wherever he wants to take us. But it's in those moments that God's really able to move. When you just sit and redirect your focus on him and just really think about his faithfulness, think about how good he is, think about how he's just mighty and great and he's our protector, our deliverer, and just redirect your focus on him, you're not going to be worrying, you're not going to be stressing, you're not going to be thinking about the problem, because you're thinking about God. And we're thinking about like, Lord, I trust you. I might not know all the details, I might not have all the answers, but I know that you do. And being in your presence is enough. So redirect your focus to God. And then the second practical way that you can improve your patience, I would say, would be to just surrender your need for control. Like literally release your hands. Like a lot of times, like I said, we have our hands balled up in a fist. Lord, like I don't want to release it. Like I like having control, but we just got to open up our hands, release it to God. So you could kind of think about it like this. Like, you know how like you see the construction workers working on the road and they have like the orange flags that tell us when to drive or when to stop. So say if there's someone literally standing in their construction site, and say the construction worker needs to put like I don't know, like concrete on the roads or malt on the roads. I don't know what they use to make roads, to be honest with you. But say they need to put like malt or concrete on the road, right? And they're unable to do that because this person is standing literally in a construction site. So the construction worker is unable to do their job because someone's literally blocking them. So it's like in the same way when we literally have our hands balled up in a fist and we're refusing to surrender to God, we don't want to release it. It's like, how do you expect God to move unless you open up your hands and release it to God for God to do what he needs to do in our lives? Like, we can't try to have control of certain situations because we are not in control. So it's like, you're like, yes, Lord, like I trust you, I have faith, but like your hands are balled up in a fist. God's like, open up your hands and release it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. Release yourself from that. And it's like, the Lord's burden is light. He don't want us to be carrying all these things, worrying about all these things. He said, release it to him. So it's like, we can't expect God to move and do all these things that he needs to do in our life if we're refusing to surrender it all to him. Like, we need to have a heart posture of full surrender to the Lord, because we're not meant to carry all this weight and baggage. Like, God is in control. We are not in control. So release your need for control and just allow God to move and work. Like, we got to surrender control. We got to surrender to God. And I think it can be hard, not knowing all the details, not having a set timeline. And like I said, this is something that I've definitely struggled with, wanting to have control, wanting to have timelines and set schedules. But like I said, I'm just learning that, like, I just need to surrender to God, because in the end, God's will will always prevail, and his will is his perfect will. So sometimes what we want may not be what is best for us. It may not be what God intends for us, but what God wants for us is bigger and better and greater than what we can have ever thought or imagined. So just having faith in God, trusting God, believing that he's got you. Like, literally walking by faith and knowing that God has got you. Like, being reminded that he's a good, good father, that he will provide all of your needs, that he will direct your path, that he will connect you with the right people. Believe in God, have faith in God. So the first two, we said the first one was redirect your focus to God. The second one we said was surrender your need for control. And now the last one I would say would be to just be reminded of God's timing. Like, in life, there are seasons for everything. And in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 through 2, even the entire chapter of Ecclesiastes 3, it talks about seasons. So verses 1 through 2 says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. So like, there's literally seasons for everything in life. You might be in a season where you're on the mountaintop, right? Everything's going well, you're prospering, you're doing great. You have a fire for God, striving. Or you might be in a season where you're in the valley, where you're dealing with loss, you're dealing with pain, your separation, and all these different hardships. But it's just a reminder that seasons are temporary. You're not going to be in one season forever, right? And every season is purposeful. God is able to move. God is able to prune us. God is able to strengthen us in different seasons and quite literally refine us in different seasons. And when you just think about life in general, when you think about the seasons like fall, winter, spring, summer, we know that fall is here. When we see the leaves falling on the ground with all the different colors, the orange, the yellow, the red leaves, we know, okay, we're in fall season. We're seeing a lot of pumpkin spice things and everything's cinnamony. We know, like, we're in the fall season. And then we know, like, when all the leaves fall off of the tree, we start to see the weather gets colder, snow starts coming. We know we're in winter, right? We know that winter is here. This is the season of winter, and we're not going to expect that we're going to have 90-degree weather in winter, because that's not the season or time for that weather. But we know when summer comes, right? we got the leaves on the trees, the weather's warmer, 89 degrees weather. We're like, okay, this makes sense. We're not expecting to see snow in the summer because that's not the time or the season for it. So in life, there are different seasons for different things that happen in our lives, right? And our seasons are constantly changing, but every season is purposeful. And know that if you're in a season where you're just having to wait on God, where you just have to be patient and sit and trust God, just know that there is a season that you're in, that there's a reason that He has you sitting and waiting, right? He could be literally orchestrating you to be connected with somebody to help you get to where He needs you to go. He could be setting you up, right, for a job that He's preparing for you. He could be setting you up for school. He could be setting you up for whatever He has in store for you, but know that your waiting is not in vain. Being patient and waiting on the Lord is not in vain, right? And this might sound cliche, but like, good things come to those who wait. Like, we just got to wait on God more. We got to just really trust Him enough to know that, man, you, Lord, got me, and I trust you. And I'm not going to doubt that you don't have me because you are faithful and you're a good, good Father. So we just got to be patient. We have to be patient. And like I said, you don't just wake up one day and you just have patience. Like I said, it's a process. It's a process. And, you know, God will continue to refine us. God will continue to just strengthen us and just cultivate things in us that we need to work on and just allow us to just draw nearer to Him. And I think in the moments where you're having to be patient, when you're having to wait on God, we might not understand, like, man, like, why am I waiting? Like, this is taking forever. Like, what's going on? But then when we get to where God was preparing for us, we're like, man, Lord, I see what you were doing. I see that why you had me waiting. You were literally preparing my way. You were literally just working everything out for my good. And like, God is just so intentional with everything He does. Like, He does things with intention. So if He has you waiting, if He has you in a season where you just have to be patient and be still and trust and know that He's doing it for a reason, know that He's setting you up, that He's preparing something for you, that He's directing your path, that He's gonna order your steps. So just be patient. Just be patient. It's so important just to be patient, just to be still, just to trust in the Lord, to not lean on your own understanding, to not lean on your own knowledge, because we're limited in our perspective and our knowledge and our understanding, but to lean on God. In times when we're struggling, in times when we're doing well, just continuously seek the Lord, continuously rely on God. Because when you put your trust in Him, when you put your faith in Him completely, when you surrender everything to Him, there's no need to worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. There's no need to stress about the future or do all these things, because God is in control. And I'm not saying that means to like sit around and be lazy and not be productive and just be like, okay, like, God's gonna do it. Yeah, God will do it, but you have to do your part, right? Be proactive, be productive, you know? But still not rushing the process, you know, seeing that there's a process that God is taking you through. And that requires patience. Like, so many people in the Bible waited, had to be patient. Think about Sarah and Abraham. Sarah waited a long time to conceive a child. She was in her old age. When God blessed her womb and allowed her to, you know, to conceive, she waited a long time. And waiting is okay. It's okay to wait. We're required to wait. Scripture literally says, wait for the Lord, be strong and wait for the Lord. And like I said, sometimes it could be hard. You might feel discouraged. You might feel like, man, like nothing's moving, nothing's changing, but God is moving. God is working everything out. You just have to be patient and trust the Lord. So that was it for today's episode. I pray that this episode was a blessing, that it reached the ears of whoever needed to hear it. And I pray that you continue to just trust God, put your faith in Him, and just seek Him continually. And just be reminded that if you're waiting, if you're in a season of waiting, if you're in a season where you just have to be patient and trust the Lord, know that it's for a reason and God is doing it with intention. And being patient is the way to go. Patience is a fruit of the Spirit. So be patient and wait on the Lord. And I pray that you have a blessed rest of your week. And I thank you for tuning in. Have a good one.